So in this video, we are going to complete this table that's going to give us information about the vertex, graph, equation, focus, and directrix of a parabola, depending on the direction that the parabola opens. So this table has 4 different rows that we're going to fill out, and one of them will be for when the parabola opens up, another will be for when the parabola opens down, and then we'll also look at what happens when it opens to the right and the left. So starting with the first row, we're going to start with parabolas that open in the upward direction. So for the direction that the parabola opens, I'm going to write up. I'm going to, first let's start sketching the graph and then we'll fill in some information from there. So for the graph of this, I'm just drawing a random parabola that opens upward. I will label my x and y axes and say my parabola looks like that. I'm going to choose to call the vertex of this parabola the point HK. I'm going to call that the point HK. All of these vertices I'll call the point HK. So the focus lives inside of the parabola. So let's say that the focus is about right there. Remember that the distance from the vertex to the focus is A. So this distance here it has a value of little a. Now, if that distance has a value of little a, that means that the focus is a units higher than the vertex. So if it is a units higher, well, it's on the same vertical line, so its x-coordinate will stay the same. It still has an x-coordinate of h, but the new y-coordinate of it will now be k plus a. Because we moved k units up. We moved a units up from k. So the new y coordinate is k plus a. So I'll go ahead and fill out my focus. The coordinate for my focus is h comma k plus a. For the directrix will be this horizontal line outside of the parabola. The directrix will never touch the parabola. And the distance from the vertex to the directrix is also little a. So that vertical distance there is also little a. Since the directrix is a horizontal line, we know that it must have the equation of y equals a number. Horizontal lines look like y equals. And what that number is it's the number that is a units less than k. Because we started at the point HK and we moved a units down. So the equation of this line is y is equal to k minus a. I'm taking the y coordinate of the vertex and I'm subtracting a since the directrix is below that. So now we can fill in our equation for the directrix. That is y is equal to k minus a. In general, the equation for a parabola that opens upward is x minus h squared is equal to 4 times a multiplied by the quantity y minus k. H and k that show up in here, that's coming from the vertex. And the little a that's multiplied with the 4, that is the same little a in the picture. That's the same little a that gives us the distance from the vertex to the focus and from the vertex to the directrix. Working on filling out the second row now, I'm going to look at a parabola that opens downward. I'm still going to call the vertex of my parabola the point HK. And now I will draw in a parabola that opens down. Say something that looks like that. And so this point here, my vertex, that is the point HK. The focus lives on the inside of the parabola, so it must be under the vertex, say about right there. The distance from the vertex to the focus is little a, and so the coordinate for that focus, well, the x-coordinate is staying the same, but the y-coordinate is a unit smaller. So now the y-coordinate here is k minus a because it is underneath the vertex. The directrix will be above this parabola, will be up here. Remember, the directrix never touches the parabola. And the distance from the vertex to the directrix is still a little a, and that line is a units above the y value of k, and so the equation for the directrix is y is equal to k plus a. When the parabola opens down, that is the equation for the directrix. And the only difference between the equation for a parabola that opens up and the equation for a parabola that opens down is x minus h squared is equal to a negative 4a multiplied with y minus k. So when the parabola opens down, we stick a negative in front of our 4. Now moving on to the third row, we will find all this information for a parabola that opens to the right. And so let's say that that parabola looks something like this. I will still call its vertex the point HK. So there is our vertex HK. The focus lives on the inside of the parabola. So I'll move where I wrote this HK just so I can put the focus in there. So the focus lives to the right of the vertex. The distance between the vertex and the focus is still little a. And so since the focus is a units to the right, that's going to affect the x coordinate. So I started with an x coordinate of h, and I added a to it to get to my focus, and my y coordinate stayed the same. So the new focus is h plus a, comma, k. For the directrix, that's going to be in the opposite direction on the outside of the parabola, about right here. It is now a vertical line. The distance from the vertex to the directrix is still little a. And so if I went from the vertex and I moved a units to the left, well then now I am at h minus a. So the equation for this directrix is now x equals, it's a vertical line. Vertical lines have the equation x equals h minus a. So that is what our directrix is here. And the general equation for a parabola that opens to the right is y minus k squared is equal to 4a multiplied with x minus h. Before, when we had parabolas that opened up and down, it was the x that was squared. That's what we're most familiar with. On parabolas that open right and left, it is the y term that is squared. H is always going to stay with x. So here we have h with x, h with x, h with x. Y is always going to stay with k. Y is always going to stay with k. And then finally, the last thing that we will look at is a parabola that opens to the left. It will still have its vertex at the point HK. So let's say that that parabola looks something like this, opening to the left. I will go ahead and label the vertex on it. The vertex is the point HK. The focus lives on the inside of the parabola, so that must be to the left of the vertex. And the distance between the focus and the vertex is still little a. And so if I moved a units to the left from my vertex, I am now at h minus a, and my y coordinate is still k. And so that is the coordinate, those are the coordinates for the focus for a parabola that opens to the left. If the focus is to the left of the vertex, the directrix is to the right of the vertex. So the directrix is now this vertical line. You know, vertical lines have the form x equals, and we moved a units to the right of the vertex. This is a little a here. And so I'm going to add a to the x coordinate of the vertex. So the directrix has the equation x is equal to h plus a. And the general form for the equation of a parabola that opens to the left is almost exactly the same as that of the right, except we have a negative 4a multiplied with x minus h. So in this table, some general things, patterns that are going on here. The parabolas that open up and down, x is squared. When the parabola opens up and down, x is what is squared. When it opens right or left, y is what is squared. If the parabola opens down, then we have the negative. When the parabola opens down, we have the negative. When the parabola opens left, we also have the negative. If it opens up or right, then it is a positive. And if you can remember that little a is the distance from the focus to the vertex and from the vertex to the directrix, and that the focus is always on the inside of the parabola, that will help you keep your focus and your directrix correct. Last thing I want to mention is when the parabola is open up or down, the equation of the directrix is y equals when the parabola opens up or down. When the parabola opens right or left, the directrix is a vertical line, and so its equation is of the form x equals.